All right. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another enthralling episode of One of Us Knows What They Are Talking About, and the other one, my friend, is you. So, this is where we dive into legal topics wills, trusts, estate planning, probate, maybe a little bit of business, and maybe a little bit of everything. It's kind of a potpourri, if you will, of things that people don't know what they're talking about. Right, friends?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And, this is specific to Texas, which is really good and really timely because our topic today, it is things to know when you move to Texas. Howdy, y'all. Welcome, y'all. Actually, this is not on my list, but I better mention it now. I kind of wanted to wait and do the more relevant topics first, but if I forget this, then I'll forever regret it. So I don't want anybody to be offended. The only thing I want you to be offended by is the title of our podcast. Um, but I don't want to offend anybody, but I really do. This is just me, okay? It's my thing. I really loathe the holiday greetings that include y'all.
I concur, yes.
Happy fall, y'all. Deck them halls, y'all. I say y'all, I don't have a problem with that, but I don't, I'll either journal about it and or talk to my therapist, but I don't really know why it bothers me so much. I mean, it might be the same reason. Maybe I'll just use this episode as my therapy session. Maybe it's like the live, love, laugh. It's just, I don't know.
Inspirational.
It just makes me think all your furniture is whitewashed.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Or like
Or you're whitewashed.
the blue, I'm ignoring you. Or like that blue, like distressed look that people give to furniture.
Yeah. Yeah.
You mean like Dittum?
Yeah, if we want to go back to our previous
Didn't we
episode.
talk about that last time?
Couches.
Now, cheers.
By the way,
Jellos.
we'll get back to our second installment of DIY disasters, but we have disciplined Sara and Sam for bringing us zero examples of DIY disasters. Just, I don't even know what that was. So we do a little bit more research and we'll tackle that next time. But
Or
yes,
how about a little less research, more surface level, more like, oh hey, you tried to cut your own bangs. Oh hey, you tried to.
You have to out me like that.
Well,
damn,
I didn't.
Cyntia,
You're the one who
coming
just
in
did.
hot.
Also, Luke made that joke. He's like, how does she not know what a DIY fail is? How she?
I can't wait to go back. I can't wait to go back to the recording and freeze Sara and I's reaction to when you said that because we're just waiting for it to
Because I was gonna go right over it, go right through it, and then say,
I thought we
did
agreed.
a little glance at me, and it.
I thought we agreed before we started this podcast that there would be certain topics off limits, but I guess we didn't.
Oh, are her bangs off limits?
Listen, at some point we're going to come on here and they're not going to be straight, and we know this. Okay.
Not even my bangs are straight. Moving on. So, things to know when you move to Texas. Hang on, my cat wants to come into my pod. Are you coming in? In or out? In or out? Okay. Sorry, folks. So, yes, things to know when you move to Texas. And there is actually some very important things to know legally when it comes to estate planning and all of that good stuff when you move to Texas. In fact, I was thinking about this in the shower, and which is irrelevant, but gives some texture to my story. And I'm good at textured stories. Is our tagline, which is if you don't have a will, the state of Texas
has one for you.
Has one for you. This is absolutely pathetic. If you don't have a will, the state of Texas has one for you. And, one of the things, there's a lot of very special things about Texas. And I've always loved being able to use that tagline because it means something, like it's impactful. You say that to people and they're like, ooh, gosh. Ugh. If you said, if you don't have a will, the state of Delaware has one for you, I don't know. I don't live in Delaware. I'm not from there, but I'd be like, oh, okay, Delaware, do your worst. Ooh.
Yeah, it was kind of like okay, it's Delaware.
Cool. Rhode Island has one for you. Oh, wow, you're so teeny tiny. So anyway, that is our tagline. And I do have one other anecdote. So I'm not originally from Texas. I am originally from California. And then we got transferred to Jakarta, Indonesia. And then after 2 exciting years there, I got transferred to Texas when I started 10th grade. And I like to say that it was a bigger culture shock going from Indonesia to Texas than it was from California to Indonesia. And it's true. It's a special place. But this is my home. I've lived over half my life here now. And but this, I was thinking about this. So I went to an international school, Jakarta International School. A lot of people, oil families, embassy, military, that sort of thing. A lot of Texans. So remember, I moved from California, hadn't really experienced Texans, but there were a couple of them that like would wear these shirts that said, "Don't mess with Texas." And I remember like that's so obnoxious. Like, geez, what the heck, you know? And so then it was just like, I can't believe we're getting transferred to Texas. This place is like so obnoxious. And so I remember sitting after we moved here, watching TV, and a commercial comes on for an anti-litter campaign, which is called "Don't Mess with Texas." And I was like, oh, that makes sense. That's clever. I get it. I get it. But I didn't get it for those couple years and really just thought it lended itself to the Texas mystique. So, with that said, let's talk about estate planning in Texas. So, one thing that I don't think we really emphasize enough is that the laws, when it comes to how a will is drafted, written, interpreted, how a power of attorney, medical, financial, how a living trust, all of that is specific state to state. It is defined by the state. And we're specifically in the DFW area, and we've seen exponential growth in the last handful of years, decade, and we're going to continue to see more growth here. And the majority of the folks that are moving into Texas are actually moving from out of state. And so we thought this would be a very important message to be sharing, that when you move to Texas, and we welcome you with open arms and 10-gallon hats, that your estate plan from another state. Now, of course, if you don't have an estate plan, well, might as well get it here, because I'm going to tell you something right now. You're not going to move. This is the Lone Star State, and you're not going to move. So might as well get it done now. But if you were savvy enough to have had your will, trust, power of attorney done in another state, do you, team, need to change it? Is it, well, actually, I'm going to ask you this because I want to set you up more. Is it valid in Texas from another state?
Yes.
You say, oh, why are Sam and Cyntia just kind of looking like,
I know
do you
the
want
answer to this.
Yeah, I didn't know she was going to say more. It felt like
No, I thought you guys were going to chime in.
No, we were waiting.
I mean, that is the correct answer.
Yeah, it is.
There's a lot of caveats to it.
There are.
And so here's the ifs. Let me do one, and then I want Sam and Cyntia to test their experience. We don't have our next reviews until when? June? But I'll remember.
Yeah, end of June.
That's next month, so I'll remember. And so if it was validly signed and executed according to the laws of the state you moved from, then it is valid, air quotes, for those not watching the video, air quotes, valid here. A lot of caution around that we're going to spend this episode talking about. But before I dive into my 2 cents on it, Sam or Cyntia, do any of you want to chime in on this particular matter?
Well, actually worked cases that we did do probate of, we call them foreign wills, They can be from
They are
Oklahoma.
called
It's a
foreign
foreign
wills.
will.
That's a Texas thing, number one, right? Is that
Yeah.
it's if it's not Texas, it's foreign.
It's a foreign will.
Yeah.
First, that's an interesting thing. Second, I've had to do some research and call attorneys in other states to be like, hi, just a real quick question. Is this will that I am looking at, let me describe it to you via phone. Is this valid in your state? Because I need to know that before we can even do anything in our state. That was a fun time. I got to know somebody's paralegal really well.
Yes, definitely. Sam, do you want to chime in on this at all?
Well, I think Cyntia makes the good point of that every state is different and has different laws.
I think I said that.
Did you? Okay, well, you also made the good point of that.
I didn't also. I am the one that made that point.
You're the one that made
this is our life. This is just what we do.
Well, that was
I
really
just want to know if you're confusing the two of us or if you really
I mean, maybe. You never know.
Okay.
Is it like that
All
one
right.
day where Lorie just kept saying the wrong person?
You mean after the day you kept saying the wrong person?
Yeah,
I was gonna say
but
you
one of
call
the-
me Sarah more than
That's
anybody
I do
else.
that all the time though. That's an expected
True.
thing for me.
That's for the
True.
bangs
But also
comment.
for Lorie, yours was recorded. Mine was not. It was the day Gabby was with us.
Oh,
It's fine.
Yeah.
We remember it. So yeah, so let's dive into that a little bit. Let me just say this in case nobody listens to anything else. Documents from other states, wills, trusts, powers of attorney, yes, in general, they should be valid here if they're valid in other states. However, because the requirements and processes are defined state to state, if they aren't state specific, you might really and very likely are missing some specific language that will ultimately make things easier. And the entire point, for the most part, of why people get this legal planning is to try and make things as easy and as straightforward as possible. So if that is your goal, then you should definitely consult with a qualified attorney in your new state and have them review it and see what changes, updates need to be made. And I will prepare you that there's a very good chance you're going to have to replace it all. Don't be upset. It's a good thing that you already had something. It's like homeowners insurance. You know, you renew that every year, and it's a good thing when you don't have a claim, right? But you had that peace of mind that if something did happen during that time period, that you would be covered. So just think of it the same way. It's a good thing. And also you're in Texas now, so be happy about it. So you should have it looked at, and you're probably going to need to have things updated, and that's across the board. Now, I do want to talk specifically about people though who have done living trust, revocable living trust, because if you remember from a previous episode, and I'm certain future episodes to come, that when you create this living trust in lieu of doing just a standalone will, and you connect your assets to it, have your home in it, bank accounts, beneficiaries, all of that, that circumvents and avoids the whole probate court process, which without a trust, you're going to be subjected to, even with a will. So remember, even if you have a will, it still has to go through the probate court process. So very important that it has very specific state language in it. However, a living trust, the whole point of it, well, one of the whole points of it is to take it out of that state specific process. So there is a greater likelihood that there will be little to no changes to a living trust that would be made state to state. And in fact, when we are dealing with clients who think they might be moving or of course it would be a transfer because nobody would voluntarily leave the state of Texas. We tell them you might want to go ahead and do this trust because it is more portable. Now, extra caveat there, that means that you've got a savvy law firm that knows how to put language in there that makes it more portable. But with the exception of that, living trusts are much more portable, to repeat what I just said, from state to state. The other aspect that I want to bring in and see if anybody else wants to piggyback on this is when you do have a trust from another state, though, you do need to make sure that if you are buying a home, acquiring new assets, setting up accounts, that you're still getting them connected to the trust. And so you still may want to work with a qualified firm to guide you in that process, because that is the biggest mistake that we see that people do when they create these living trusts is they don't then do phase two, which if you don't do phase two, then it's like walking out the door without shoes. Then the whole plan of avoiding the probate court process implodes on itself. So you want to make sure that's done. Anything anybody wants to offer about that? No, they're shaking their heads, which is great.
We're shaking
For
our heads now.
podcasts.
But one thing that I do want to emphasize is whenever we have people who they have brought in trusts from other states and they are perfectly portable, we still in Texas need to do the paperwork to get their Texas home into their trust because we know how to do that. And that's a really important thing with going to other states is you want to find somebody from the state that you're going to do some of the paperwork to make sure it's legally valid.
Definitely. And just because you have a trust and that may not need to be updated or changed, the document itself, you probably also have a medical power of attorney, a living will, directive to physicians, those other documents, and those should be updated to be in compliance with Texas law. Also, a lot of the time your address is put on these documents, and it ultimately, whether you have an address or not, or if it's an incorrect address, is kind of a moot point, like a cow's opinion. But it's still, what I always tell people is as you start piling up the changes, the more you should probably take another look and get things updated to your current circumstances and contact information and all of that. So it's always a good idea to have things looked at and tweaked and adjusted. Another thing I want to add that we run into a lot is sometimes our clients get confused as to why, when they move out of state, we cannot update their documents. And it's the inverse of the same reason. And that is you are now a resident of that state. And so you should have your legal documents in compliance with the law of the state you live in. And we're not licensed in that state. So it technically would be unauthorized practice of law, which is a little frightening at how little our clients seem to care about that. I guess I should take it as a compliment, even though they get kind of angry. I guess I should take it as a compliment. They're like, no, we want you to do these updates. And I think we even had someone recently who demanded it. I can't do that. And sometimes I'm caught off guard by what I consider to be common knowledge. And then it's kind of like this aha moment where I realize the general public really doesn't understand some of these very fundamental and basic concepts, which is really what lends itself to the whole tongue-in-cheek title of this podcast. One of us knows what they're talking about, and the other one is you. So I don't go to your work and tell you that, well, I Googled how to do that, and you're not doing it right. You should do it this other way. Although it's tempting.
It would be fun.
Right?
Who would you go to?
Well, Sam would go to a hairdresser, obviously.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And say, you're not doing that right. This is what you do. You put a bowl on your head. Right?
Well,
Okay.
the cool kids are doing it.
Where would you go, Sarah?
I haven't thought about that. I don't know.
You should never pose a question that you haven't thought about on your own.
Well,
Okay. Cyntia, where would you go?
I don't know. What's our legal receptionist doing?
Hopefully working.
Oh,
Can't be in the same industry. I'd go down our hall and the people that do the renovations.
that would be
Hey guys,
one.
let me explain how you cut carpet. It's supposed to fit the room. Anyway, I will leave that. I'll leave that there. So let's talk about other things that's important about moving to Texas. So I want to offer a few. because there's so many unique things. So I've said this before, when you cross state lines and you'll see a sign with the Texas flag and it reads drive friendly the Texas way. And what I find really interesting and actually ironic about it is that Texans really are friendlier for sure, but not how they drive. It's
No.
like the one area where they are not friendly. And speaking of which, so even though we moved here when I was in 10th grade, I did move away. I went to law school in DC and lived out there for a while. And I remember when I moved back from DC, I had to get my car inspected because obviously I wasn't getting a Texas inspection sticker there, which some people we've dealt with would be really confused. What do you mean you can't inspect my car even though I don't live in Texas? But that's what we get. And so I remember standing at the counter with my mom, and it failed. And there was a gentleman in the waiting room, and he's like, "Hey, did you check the gas cap and make sure it was on tight?" And I turned around. This was after 6 years of living in DC, and I said, "Is this your business?" And my mom elbowed me, and she's like, "Lorie, you're not in DC anymore. He's just trying to be friendly." And I'm like, "Yeah, you are." So for those of you who are in Texas and maybe have never gone anywhere else, I will tell you, it is not a normal thing when you walk into a store for people to say, "Hi, how are you doing? Can I help you with anything today?" Like that was something that was a real adjustment. And in fact, when I moved back to Texas, I was flown back out. Actually, I was working at the Securities and Exchange Commission, and they flew me back out to do some training of my replacement. And I remember when I was leaving the hotel itself, and there was a guy in front of me, and rather than keeping the door open, like he let it swing right at me. And I'm like, yes, I'm back in DC, not in Texas anymore for sure. So I do think Texans by and large are friendly. And like I've said, I've lived over half my life here, but I always have a test of where I think 9 times out of 10, this is going to be accurate, where somebody's a native Texan by how they pronounce the fast food chain of Whataburger, because they say it like Whataburger. Whataburger?
When I was little, I used to say water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're a native.
Yeah.
Yeah. But people who've moved here, they're like, well, I'm just reading it phonetically, which is a big mistake in Texas. Whataburger. And it's not Whataburger, it's Whataburger.
Whatever.
I mean, say it with your Texas twang, Sam.
I mean, that's how I see it. Whataburger. Is it wrong? I don't know.
It's not right. There's no wrong or right. It's just it is what it is. And then another really fun thing, one of my dear friends, Patty Vargas from the American Businesswomen's Association, she lives in California, but she traveled a lot to Texas. And she would tell me about how frustrated she is with our highway system. And even though I'm not a native, I did learn to drive here. And so it's just all normal to me. But she said all your highways have two names and you use either one of them interchangeably. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's right. 75 Central, Stemmons 35, 635 LBJ, like we do. And even though the road signs are not consistent on that.
Yeah.
And then wait. And then she's like, and the kicker is you have a highway 35E and 35W, but they run north and south. And I'm like, it makes sense to us, okay?
Yeah.
What I have learned is the main road is 75. The frontage road is Central Expressway. The frontage road is LBJ.
Well, and then
there's
190, also George Bush. There's 121, also Sam Rayburn. And there really is, there's real, like we do use them interchangeably. The other thing that I really love about Dallas in particular is I've noticed this when someone in Dallas is giving directions, they will always tell you what used to be there. Like that's helpful. Oh, it's right over there by where, that hospital used to be. It's like, it's when it was called XYZ. And it's like, what are you talking about? That is not helpful to someone who is just visiting our fine city. Anyway, I could go on, and I may, but what other things? I know that Sam and Sarah have a few things they feel are very important when it
Always.
comes to living in Texas.
Okay, so the weather here. Let's talk about that. I feel that that's first on y'all's list. It is an ever present thorn in my side. However, I really hate being cold, so
Which is ironic because I feel like your office is always a nice box.
I listen, I don't control the ambient temperature in here. I feel like the building has lulled us into like a really delusional sense that maybe we do affect the temperature in here, but we don't.
We
let's be
don't.
It's
honest here.
like we have placebo thermostats.
Yeah. And whenever you call them, they come in, they're like, well, it's doing this. I'm like, that's great. But the temperature
And then
here
your
is not
thermostat
pleasant.
can actually control 2 offices down.
It does, yes. I recently found the chart that
Yeah.
shows the outlines, and it's kind of bonkers how many things mine does.
My favorite thing is that my office also controls part of the office next to us that we do not use.
Which is not part
The
of Burch Law.
suite. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not Burch Law.
Which they also
And-
really love.
Well,
So, yeah,
weren't they really loud for a while?
They
And
still
then you
are.
could just
Yeah.
crank it down. Oh,
They
well, why don't you
still
just
are.
use psychological warfare on them?
So
I hope
with the
they listen
weather,
to this.
you never
So
know how to
weather in
dress.
Texas.
Also, by the way, you don't know how to dress because inside it's freezing and outside it's 105. And you don't like. I keep sweaters. I keep blankets, just everywhere because you never know. Then the tornadoes come and it's like all of a sudden gets really dark. One time I was actually driving home on 75, not Central because I was actually on 75. I used Central to get off.
Was it the Sam Johnson Highway section?
No, it was not. It was further down by Highland Park. Yeah, no, I was going under this bridge. It was like I was listening to the radio and something had just touched down in Love Field. If you know Dallas, Love Field and that part of 75 are not far away from each other. I really considered just pulling in under like a bridge and just waiting it out. And then I was like, maybe I should tell Luke where our wheels are. Like there was a whole thing going through. This is just getting home. That morning, nothing would indicate that we would be under tornado. It's here.
Yeah, we're under a watch right now, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
until 10. My favorite thing is, or like story, is when we went to the basement of the parking lot.
Oh yeah.
And we found Lauren just chilling in her car.
She just
And
wanted
she
the
just
nuggets.
didn't come down with us. Yeah, what she wanted was
I feel like-
nuggets.
Yeah, I feel like it's common for Texans to like not seek shelter when the sirens
Yeah.
go off. We just want to watch.
Yeah,
Speak for yourself. I like to seek shelter. Thank you.
I go back and forth.
But you're
like, if
not
I'm
a
in my
native
apartment,
Texan.
I'm not.
True.
But I also, have survived a couple tornadoes, thankfully.
I'll go back and forth from my bathroom to the window. I just can't help it. I have to look.
Exactly. Yeah, you got to look.
Well, the
I don't.
problem is it's also the boy who cried wolf, because 9 times out of 10 it doesn't get anywhere close to you. So then
Yeah.
you're just like, yeah, whatever. You don't know how to take it seriously.
Except for Morgan, they always seem to follow her.
Well, also a really fun thing in the DFW area for those who don't live here, if let's say you are on the northernmost tip of Dallas County and like there was a sighting of a tornado like in Collin, your siren will go off, but it'll go off for the entire county. So it just has to touch an edge of the county that you're in and the whole thing goes off. Hey guys, these counties are not small.
Well, it's like being taxed for the school district. If you're on the
Yeah.
edge of a city, you're going to be taxed for the whole city. Tornadoes work the same way. Tornadoes and taxes, what do they have in common?
Equal opportunity.
At
They'll
least
wreck you up.
there's tornado sirens here, because in Houston there's none, and apparently Harris County gets the most tornadoes, but
Really?
there's no sirens. Yeah, I didn't hear sirens until I moved to Dallas.
That is fascinating.
Because y'all have both
What?
hurricanes and tornadoes.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know how much we're going to talk about Houston. I know that we have very strong feelings
Yeah, just don't go there. It's fine. You're not missing
Agreed.
a whole lot.
Somebody that grew up there.
Is there a way to get to Galveston without going through Houston? I'm trying to remember.
I mean, you could go
Yeah.
around.
Yeah, you could go around. You
Yeah,
just
so
really
then
just
there
follow the edge.
Okay, so then there really is no reason to go to Houston.
Yeah, pretty much.
The
No, you
Space
should go
Center is there.
around.
No, that's
Nope.
closer to
It's
Galveston
closer to
than
Galveston.
Houston.
Yeah, I have a couple
Never
ways
mind.
we can go around Houston proper and just go to Galveston.
Space Center is fun though. We should go there.
Oh, team event.
When you say
team
what
activity,
are you talking about?
Team event.
the team,
Oh.
Just go to
the Burch Law team.
Or do you want to do a podcast on location?
Yes.
We could go to different places in Texas.
that would be fun. We have a little road trip.
Call it. Never mind.
Oh,
Thought
You
better
can't
of
do
it, huh,
that.
Sarah? She can.
Yeah.
you at least message
can.
me.
All right.
You
What
just cut it out.
else?
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to complain about
One on here is sports. I feel like sports is a very big thing in just Texas in general, especially football. I mean, but that's really the entire country. But you can't really go, I feel like, 10 minutes without seeing like a football stadium, whether it's high school or college or
Oh, I feel like high
We got
school
a
big
couple-
football.
ones.
Yeah, we
High
have a
school
couple
football is a
teams.
big
Yeah.
deal. I mean, I am a
Yeah.
huge football fan, but really more of the professional genre. And people are really hardcore about high school and then also colleges like UT and A&M. And then you throw in the Red Raiders, Tech. It's,
Not
yeah.
me
And
doing
I
that.
mean,
Yeah,
No?
no. Well, I feel like when we were graduating, the football team was actually doing well. I went to one football game. I didn't care about football. I still don't.
As
so
somebody
really.
who grew up in Deep East Texas, Friday night lights
Yeah.
are a thing.
Yeah,
That's
same in
where you
Houston.
go. That's where you are. That's where you live. Especially if you were in band and twirl like I
Mhm,
was,
yeah.
you live there.
For Houston.
I mean,
Katie
I think sports are good because it's a unifying cultural experience that
Like
it
Taylor
doesn't
Swift.
matter. It is, yes, very
Greatest
much
life
so.
cosplay.
Where doesn't matter, what walk of life, who you are. You can all be unified behind supporting a team, no matter how futile it is. If you're a Cowboys fan, oh, you can actually see the Miami Dolphins helmet behind me. I just realized. But yes, sports are a big deal. That is something that is important to know. I will say a shout out to where I went to college, Trinity University in San Antonio, because I'm a pretty loyal to my team sports fan. But living there for 4 years, they turned me into a Spurs fan because I love how much that city loves their team. And it's not fair weather. Fair weather fans drive me crazy, but they through and through, for better or for worse, that city loves their Spurs. And so it was infectious. It got me, and I love the Spurs. Go Spurs, go. What else? What else is important to know about moving to Texas?
I guess we could go on the driving route. I mean, it'll take like 45 minutes to us is not a long drive. Like it's a typical drive. Also Buc-ee's. We added Buc-ee's to the list because that's a big thing.
Let's take some time to talk about Buc-ee's. What is Buc-ee's?
Yeah, a magical little beaver.
It's
That's
also a
Buc-ee's.
gas station.
It's a gas station. Yes.
I think you can do a better job. They have the cleanest restrooms
have
of
a-
restaurants.
yeah.
Mhm.
Sand bathrooms.
I'll tell you something about Buc-ee's.
Ices.
Fun fact, they don't have windshield wiper squeegees at the pumps.
The one thing they're missing.
The only thing. There's literally
Fantastic.
everything else there.
Yeah.
But if you have not been to a Buc-ee's, you have not lived. You need to go to Buc-ee's.
Magical
Get
place.
a barbecue sandwich, get beaver nuggets, get a live, love, laugh aside.
They
Get
have
a
dog treats.
Oh yeah.
If you have your dog with
I
you.
don't have it on me, but I have a nice white enamel one, Sarah.
Yeah,
Buc-ee's tumbler.
I have a lot of
Sarah
Buc-ee's
was holding
merch.
up hers.
Yeah, their foods like is really good for a gas station.
No, it's
You
good.
go and like you
It's not
get, I'm
just
gonna
a
be like the
gas
favorite
station.
person. Get the fudge box. Get like the
Ooh,
sampler
you have
fudge
good
box
fudge.
and
I've
take that to
never
a
done
party.
that.
You're the head of the party.
My aunt really loved their like spices that you can rub on meat. She'd always have us send them over to her. She loved them.
You have to go to Buc-ee's at least once. It is not just a gas station. It is like a super
You
mega gas
actually
station.
don't even have to get gas there because
No, you
sometimes
just
the
need to go use the
But it is
lines
restroom.
pretty cheap though.
are insane.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Don't go during a major holiday though. You will hate your life.
It's not too bad, the one in Terrell.
Well, waiting
The
for the
Ennis
gas,
and
that's what I'm
Madison one.
saying, is it'll look like pandemonium, but going inside and shopping, they've got plenty of registers, plenty of
Yep.
space. Don't let the crowds detour you. But we have pulled into Buc-ee's and not gotten gas there because I don't want to wait 20 minutes for a
Yeah.
pump. But going inside, you're good to go, and then we'll just go to the rinky-dink one down the road and fill up. So it's good times. Highly recommend Buc-ee's. And
I
now
love
Their
we've
breakfast
we've
tacos.
spread
These
Buc-ee's
are good.
outside of Texas.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, we have?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're in multiple states now, I think.
They're getting out there. They're getting
Yeah.
around.
So, all right. Well, before we wrap up here, what are some other just really important things to know about living in Texas?
I feel like when people talk about Texas, they just think it, I mean, it is very flat, but like they don't really think of like parks and wildlife. But there is like, we do have national parks and it's not all flat. Dallas alone has about, I think I saw 382 parks. And so that's just Dallas alone. So
I mean,
some good
another
places to go.
thing that is superior about Dallas than Houston is like Houston will have a highway that will demolish like a park,
Mhm.
and Dallas actually has a highway that has a park on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
Houston
Yeah.
is also just very, very flat. Like there's no hills.
It's really
Well, it's just
very
cement.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to see a bunch of cement
Mhm.
in traffic, go to Houston. For the San Antonio and related areas, Seguin and that
Mhm.
area, natural bridge caverns. Like there's a lot of really cool and hill country. There's a lot of cool places to visit. It's
Austin
a huge
has the
state.
bats.
If
which
you
is
go
really
to
cool.
Bernie, there's a restaurant there called Little Gretel, Best Pancakes. It's a
Ooh.
German place. Really yummy.
There's
Yeah,
always
they
like
have
those
a-
random peach farms you can go to.
They have a restaurant there called the Sam Anderson, and they have the best darn flapjacks
They
this
do.
side of the Mississippi.
Can confirm.
The side of the Mississippi.
I make them all personally, so I do know.
If anybody's taking me seriously, who's listening, I'm kidding. So don't look for
Please don't
the
ask me
Sam
for
Anderson.
pancakes.
I like it's not in Bernie, Texas. I just think Sam here, her name sounds like it would be a diner, the Sam Anderson. So
I
that's
will
all
say
it
though,
is.
Bernie, Little Gretel, that is there.
Okay, that is real.
Yeah. That is
That
a
is an
legit place. It was
actual-
delicious.
Yes. So anything else before we close, Sarah?
No? I mean, unless we want to mention the Alamo, but that's it.
She does love the
I
Alamo.
forgot the Alamo.
See,
No, I
we wrote, don't just
as
remember it.
as the one who's lived in San Antonio, I've gone to the Alamo many a times, the Alamo City.
The Alamo
and
City.
it is called the Alamo City, San
Yeah, no, I know.
Antonio. Okay. And yes, no, I've been there many a times. It's important to be quiet when you're in there. There is no basement for those who are fans of Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure. There is no basement in the Alamo. That is true. And there's lots of places around because the Alamo itself is very small, and I found that surprising.
Tiny.
But there's lots of space and area around there to explore. San Antonio is a very cool city, right off the Riverwalk.
Yes.
Oh, I love the
Really
Riverwalk.
recommend. I guess Sam, should we go there as well as a team event?
Yeah, can we? I love the Riverwalk. I love doing the
No.
little boat and they tell you about the history of all the buildings and it's really cool.
It is.
There is a parking
It's
garage
fun.
in there that I do not recommend because you have to go uphill and you go round and it is the most terrifying thing I've ever driven
The
in my life.
what down there? The River Center?
There's like it's I think like 5 minutes away from the Alamo. But when I went there last year for a convention, our parking garage, you literally like it was in a building, but you went up and around, and it was terrifying.
Wait a minute. You worked here last year. What convention did you go to?
It's called the Superhero and Cars Convention, something like that. It's where I met Andrew Garfield. Was this time last
Okay.
year? Oh no, well, a month ago.
Yeah.
Last year.
Okay. I don't think I knew that. Interesting.
I can show you the video of my best friend falling over as I'm trying to drive up it.
No, that's
Right.
okay.
Okay. Good time.
Yes. Like most downtowns, parking can be a challenge, but usually just park in the river center.
Sure.
Yes. Excellent. Well, I do have one parting question to see your opinions on this.
Mhm.
Is everything bigger in Texas?
Yes.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
Cynthia's shaking her head. Yeah. It is interesting. And the cars are definitely bigger here.
Mhm. So many trucks.
The trucks.
Listen,
Just-
half those people have desk jobs. What's the porpoise?
And they
Well,
can't park
look
them.
look
And
at
they
our own
can't park
suite.
them.
We have lawyers that have huge raised trucks and client onboarding directors that have trucks.
Yeah, but she also has a boat.
We'll
She's a
see.
boat?
She is.
Oh.
To fish.
Oh,
Or
yeah,
no, what
true.
is it like?
The noodling?
Noodling in
Noodling,
Oklahoma
there
with
it
her
is. That's-
grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, see, you just said that people with office jobs should not
Okay,
have trucks,
yes, but
and here
their
we
trucks
are.
aren't like pristine at all times. They actually use them for things instead of just
Well,
driving to the office.
I don't know that everybody does, but we know that our person does.
Our people do.
Still trying to get to the bottom of the other one. Excellent. All right. Well, then I believe we'll draw this one to a close. And we hope that our fellow Texans listen to this and they take it to heart, the various things that's important about living in Texas, but particularly when it comes to your estate plan, wills, trust, powers of attorney, and the like, and make sure that they get updated and that they are Texified. Is important because if you don't have a will, a Texas
State
will.
of Texas has one for you. Did it together.
Excellent. That actually worked this time. Until next time, please join us on another exciting episode of One of Us Knows What They're Talking About, and the other one is you.